to talk, or I wanted to share mostly some of the community-based initiatives going on and keep everybody up to date with the latest and greatest information going on. So we wanted to start with a couple of the community initiatives that we have been talking about, and I'm happy to have Sandy Hubbard, our Director of Student Services, on to talk a little about this this wonderful idea that she and members of her team had. So we're calling it the Warm Line Initiative, but I'm not sure if that's what you wanted to call it, Sandy, but that's how I talked about it today. So if you'd like to share, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Based on some needs that have emerged, especially over this past year with the pandemic, we found that families were doing a lot of outreach about social emotional issues, needs because of housing or food insecurity, and behavioral concerns that parents felt were manifesting in the home. So we were fortunate to have a couple of our contracted service providers willing to provide those supports in the home, even during the course of this past year. And when hearing about the potential that there might be an ability for the community support a larger project so that we could reach more families, I discussed with our mental health providers, including Dr. Steve Hoff, Dr. Andrea Larman, our school psychologist, Cara D'Amico, and our school adjustment counselor, Brenda Ulrich, about concepts that they felt might be worthy of making a presentation about. And we came up with the idea of a warm line. Essentially, it's a community impact and family outreach line that would be manned by professionals, such as the mental health professionals that I just mentioned to you, and others that we have been doing outreach to. There is something similar that I found out about afterward that's happening in North County. So we wrote up a proposal for this warm line to be available at all times through a phone line, essentially a voicemail, but would be manned by a professional at least 4 days a week to begin, in the evening hours from 6 to 8. And what it would be is a professional would be answering the phone during that time, but also would be checking the messages and providing responses to families and guidance regarding any of these concerns that have come up. And it would be for all community members, and that's the presentation that we made recently to the Sheffield Select Board, which they have been gracious about. And now we are considering ways to move forward, and it's something that we hope that the community will access and find very helpful. I'm so pleased that the local professionals that we've spoken with and the people that I just mentioned that were a part of the proposal are willing to commit their time at least 1 day a week to this Warm Line Initiative. And we're hoping that it branches out and reaches all community members, and that it's something that people find really helpful, because there is not a lot of resources readily available to us in South County. I think many could speak to that. I know that oftentimes it's very difficult to get time with a counselor. They're all booked. And this would be a guaranteed way for community members to have access to a professional and at least guide them. Even if that professional wasn't the right person, they could guide them to the right person. So it would become a resource just for our community, where we could link people up with the right professionals. So we're hoping that gets some people behind it and people willing to use it. I think it will. We're going to be doing a lot of outreach. We're considering how that can best happen, including printed materials and website on both the town and the school district. And that's essentially the idea.
Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or other ideas that, Martin, go ahead. Oh, are you muted? Oh, you might be muted, Mark.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sandy, that was a great overview. Thank you again. And as everybody knows, Sandy did present this to the Sheffield Select Board. The idea originally was an outgrowth of the desire to appropriately spend community impact fees that are being generated from some of our marijuana businesses. I'm sorry that Sandy got grilled extensively by the Select Board with regard to that proposal, because it's a very, in my opinion, very cost-effective proposal for at least a 6-month time frame. But we did give guidance that perhaps this is something that we could talk about with other member towns, at least within the school district to start with, and then perhaps broaden it to some extent, and look for participation from other communities in our area. And again, it's meant to be available to every resident of our towns, ultimately, not just teachers, not just kids, not just their parents, but for everyone. And as Sandy had pointed out to me early on, it's not a hotline. It's not somewhere where you go to say, I'm at wit's end and I don't know what to do. It's, gosh, I'm having trouble with my 12-year-old, and it's been difficult with remote learning and this and that, and I'm having difficulty with my 14-year-old who's expressing interest in recreational drug use. I mean, it's a whole host of things that I think having a warm line and having that availability and those resources, and as Sandy pointed out, to maybe point people in another additional resources that are available. I am a firm believer that this is a resource that we could offer to our towns. One of the things that we did talk about, I think Sandy, you might have been on the line, but we're also looking about using our coronavirus, sort of state and local resource monies that are coming to us as a potential funding source. And I'm just going to close by saying that I want to continue to work with you and your team to be able to support this and look for the resources to make it happen at the earliest opportunity.
Thank you so much, Martin. We appreciate your support.
Pleasure.
Bonnie, go ahead.
Thank you. I apologize. I was at another meeting, so for being a couple of moments late. I really thank you, Martin, Bob. I've spoken to Renee about it to a great extent, and I think it's everything I've been reading, everything that's been going on, particularly in this past 15 months, Sandy's response and having so many professionals coming out from the community and saying, yeah, I'll get on board with this, because I think we're all seeing, even if we had 100% of each of our towns vaccinated, these months have taken such a toll on people's lives. So I really appreciate, I know, Sandy, did you mention, have you sent out your revised material?
To the Select Board, no, I had only passed it along to you so far.
Okay, I have to finish it, but I think that I really thank Sheffield for, and I'm sure others will get on board, but I thank you for the forward-thinking nature and understanding, as Martin, you just said, hey, this is not just about a 10th grader who won't do homework and is lashing out. So Sandy, thank you to Sheffield, and I mean, this is a great example of what communities can do. And I promise, Sandy, you will have your revised one back, if not after I get back tonight, tomorrow.
Thank you, Bonnie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So I think, as everybody has said, it's what we struggle with out here in the Berkshires is the lack of services, and it's been really hard to find those supports. So I'm hoping that this test run is successful, and I couldn't say it better. These are the good things that come out of the tragic things that we've dealt with, and hopefully this will get support and can grow and work for a lot of people. So thank you. And thank you, Sandy. Run for your life, because I know you have another commitment right now. So thank
I
you.
have 20 people here for my mom's birthday. So
Oh,
I'm gonna let you
yes.
go.
Yes.
All right.
Well, enjoy.
Thank
We're
you
jealous
so
you're having
much.
cake. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, great. So more to come on that, but we wanted to at least share that. Okay, so part two, I think we had talked a little bit about this, but I want to try to start to solicit, I'm trying to think of where the noise is. Let's see. I want to try to get ideas or volunteers to help out with this next initiative, which is our Community Intern Partnership Task Force. So what we're looking to do is really build internship opportunities for our students in our communities. And this is kind of twofold. We want kids to try different career paths and experience different areas while they're making their decisions about what they might want to do down the road. This also dovetails with the work that we're doing for the early college program in trying to obtain that designation, because part of that work is providing students with up to and including possibly as much as an associate's degree while still in high school. But with that, they would like almost an internship path that goes along with the coursework that they're taking to ensure some actual experience in the field as well. So that's not a short order. That's kind of a tall order to come up with. And, we have lots of thoughts about, even thinking about ways to transport kids if we have to go to areas of interest, but connecting with local businesses or people who could mentor our students in a with a very structured internship experience is what we're looking to do. So if anybody here would like to be a part of our task force or could recommend somebody who thinks, they have a business, they are very involved in some community organizations that could partner with us to provide these types of opportunities, I would appreciate you reaching out to me. And I'm going to try to put together a session this summer to see what we can do to build up what we've already got going on for internship experiences. So I don't know if anybody has any ideas or other people that they could connect me with, but I'm happy to go out and find other ways of broadening this concept. So we have some teachers in our guidance department who are working this summer on expanding this program, and I am currently working with Mr. Carpenter and Ken Knox from Bard College on the early college designation. And so all of these pieces, they're kind of in motion as we're developing it. So that's where we are on that. I don't know if anybody has any suggestions or ideas. Martin?
Beth, is the task force going to come up with essentially a list of student interests, for example, for juniors and seniors, maybe others as well, that says, okay, I'm kind of thinking about the medical profession, or gee, I'm kind of thinking about finance or something, a list of the areas that students are expressing interest in, that we can then work with the task force to try to identify homes for those interns?
Sure. We're doing a lot of things all at the same time. So we are part of the designation process, as well as part of the development of our program of studies involves really understanding what pathways we're creating. And so we're in the process of collecting that information with where our students currently are and what seems to be their interest. But we would also like to, be thinking about maybe some places that we haven't thought about before, or things that kids maybe didn't have in mind as we're creating these pathways and thinking about what kids want to do and what's available in our community, so that they know what's available, if they were to come out of school and work here. Bonnie, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm thinking back.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm
Just muting
back,
if I hear noise. Go ahead.
I'm thinking back, Martin, when you and I think it was Stephanie brought together that group in the library. Do you remember pre-pandemic?
Yes.
And
I didn't get very far off the ground with it, but it was a great idea.
Exactly, but a lot of it rotated around the concepts Beth is talking about with career pathways and internships. And one of the things that I think we should look at, and I don't know whether the source might be Berkshire, Taconic, or elsewhere, is I think we should look at getting a grant for an internship coordinator. And the reason I say this is from, as Beth knows, my national experience in this area. In order to really match students and internships up, in order to provide the assignments that need to be accomplished so they're earning real credit in what they're doing, in order for the businesses to really create a worthwhile program for the students, given everything that your administrative team has to do, and given the nature of what an internship coordinator is, I don't know how others feel, but I think to develop this program with a hope of success is, I think we would have to look at having a position. I would think it would be, school-based, but not in any way necessarily a personnel from our buildings, but somebody who will have the job of internship development and coordination, et cetera. And I can actually give you, if people think it's worthwhile, descriptions of what we used around the country for this type of position in the past. I don't know what other people feel about it, but I think in order to get us going in a positive way, it might be a direction for us to take. And I always have told kids, if you go through an internship and you find out at the end of the internship, you absolutely hate accounting, that is almost as good as finding out that you wanted to be an accountant, because you will not waste a lot of time and money going for a degree that's not what you want.
That's a good point, Bonnie. That's worth the credit in and of itself.
For sure. For sure. The goal of preparing kids for coursework is to have them be ready for a college experience, but have it be as transferable as possible to as many different options as possible to make it worth everybody's while. So you didn't really lose anything, but while you're getting this experience. I will say that I have also in former experience, and I think some other people, I think Julie's on here in her district, the people who have coordinated these really fantastic internship programs. In my past district, had hundreds of kids going out a year, in the afternoons, getting internship experience. It was a teacher who left the classroom, but still had to become the internship coordinator, whatever you want to call it. This became their full-time job, but they still had the ability to make those connections with the curriculum and the standards as it was. So we have done that and had that be successful as well. So
I wasn't negating a staff person in any way.
I think you were saying no more administrators to do another thing. I get it. But,
somebody teaching 5 classes can possibly
correct.
Be successfully coordinating this type of work. And yeah, as long as, we're realistic about that.
Yeah, and I think you have to, it takes a dynamic personality who's willing to get right out there and involved in the community and, attending things. I've seen some very nice things done, like at the end of the year mentor appreciation ceremonies, where people get to see who invested their time in their businesses, and the students talked about their experience, and it was really, really, really great. In fact, when I was a business manager in my district, I took a student as their mentor, and that student has gone on to be a CPA and is working in a big firm from her experience. I don't know, managing the copier account for me, all those years ago. So there's some very valuable experiences that can
it's okay. Come on.
So, I think that's something that we can definitely do more of and find those great opportunities for our kids. So I just got to get plugged in so we can get some of these people going. And, I don't know that we have that right person yet. We haven't really determined who, if anybody, would be interested internally. But for this next year coming up, we do have some people who are planning on working on getting this off the ground.
Great.
So we're going to start there. So you don't have to say it now, but if anybody knows anybody or wants to send me some suggestions of people who might be, I know right now I have someone who's very interested in a career in landscaping. So I'm looking for, someone who has a business who really wants to, take on a student coming up. Maybe possibly for the spring might be a better semester to do that. But so those types of requests are coming in. So we want to be thinking about what we can do to make them meaningful. So that's where we're going. So I will start. Thank you, Martin. That'd be great. All right. So I wanted to touch a little bit on some new grant programs or opportunities that we have received. The one thing I can't say enough about my team, it's a small team of administrators, but they are mighty. They will just about do anything to try to find ways to support the district. So Sandy, in her free time, also wrote what is called the Summer Step Up Grant, which is a grant from the state, which is a pre-K through 2 summer program grant, which is a district-based program and with community partnerships, Flying Cloud being our lead partner in that this summer. We've gotten the nod that we're going to get it. We don't know what the exact amount is, but it could be fairly substantial. I would say north of 50,000. So we will keep you posted. We expect to hear on that anytime now. So that was a great opportunity. And the really great thing about my team is that, you know, we weren't sure we were going to qualify, but we called them up and said, here's what we are offering, and they said absolutely apply, and they kind of made that fit. So I'm grateful for our team's persistence. Julie Dolan, who's also on here, took it on herself to write the accelerated math grant. It's also a state grant that was available for districts who are looking into new math programs. That grant pays for the first year of your math program with an additional separate program, an online component for grades K through 6, which has kind of a remediation component to it. So the math grant is for grades kindergarten through 8. And again, that plus the remediation program. So that's going to be worth about $50,000 to us as well. So those are really wonderful opportunities for the district that we plan on taking advantage of. And we also have the early college grant that we got for this summer, which was $30,000, which is developing our early college program and sending some students to take classes this summer and starting them on their way to, you know, so hopefully around 12 credits at least when they graduate from high school that they have under their belt. And that's the next step, obtaining the early college designation will be our work from the fall into, I think, April or so when we'll see if we qualify for the next phase of that. So those are just some of the opportunities I wanted to share and let you know that we're out there fighting for whatever funds we can get from the state to help us be fiscally responsible and efficient. So that's what we're working on. Any questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you.
Are you okay?
Who has really pushed for us going for grants. I love the way your team has been making that outreach so that we can be not bound by brick and mortar when we figure out how to broaden our children's education. I think it's great. I was really pleased to hear from Julie last week at the curriculum meeting about the work that went into this selecting a different math program, and that she, as you said, took it on herself to get this grant. So I think it's great for our district. Now we have to get the word out there that of all these fantastic things that are happening. Terry.
No. So, well, that'll come as part of our district communication piece. So moving on to that, we're always looking for new ways to enhance and support our communication efforts. And so hot off the press, which will I'll also be talking about in my school committee report tomorrow night, is that we are in the process of working with Aptigee to create the Southern Berkshire Regional School District app. So we are going to have our own app that we're developing. We have a kickoff that starts next week with the team, and we hope that it'll be up and running for the opening of the school year. It takes a solid, 8 weeks plus to get it going. So we'll be working on that. And what's really, the team met and we looked at the variety of systems that we're using, but the piece I think that we didn't realize was the live updates to the website as well as everything else. So there's a lot of real-time, effective ways, even more effective and efficient ways for us to be pushing information out to the community. And we have lots of ways of doing that, but it still comes with the reality that this won't reach everybody, which is why I have other pieces of communication on here, because you would have to be interested in downloading an app on your phone. But the nice thing for me, and Danelle, I'll be right with you, is, or for any administrator is, if something happens right now, I've got to get to my computer and, do a school messenger and, text and do all these different, you can do this all right from your phone, just like families would be able to see things and add them right to the phone. So we're going to have them do a presentation with us when we get to our piece that's live, when it looks more like this other Berkshire app. But for now, we just wanted to let people know that that's another way we're going to work on streamlining and yet enhancing communication opportunities. So, Danelle?
Thank you. Yeah, that I said it on a presentation with the app. It looks amazing and very helpful. I had a question on some of the grants. Thank you, Julie and team, and I know Sandy's gone, for doing all that hard work and writing and going for the grants. The one, if we do get for the summer, is that something that could be used? Is that like pushed to next summer? Or is it something that we could access this summer, or is it too late?
No, we're accessing it but it has to apply directly to the program that we have. It
already in place.
Already in place, and it's very specific. It has to be pre-K to 2 only. So there are some limitations to it, but we're maximizing whatever we can, on that, that's available for specific areas.
Okay, so everything would stay kind of as is, maybe like the same kind of program you have right now, but enhanced and all that stuff. Okay, all right,
Yes.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any questions? So there'll be more to come on that, but as we said, we realize that not everybody still is interested in maybe using some form of technology. And it was funny today, I think Julie might have still been down in my office. Lynette was doing some of the summer clean out, and she found a newsletter that was sent home. I don't even know how old it was. I think it was at least 30 years old, and it looked
I think it was 91, maybe.
Oh, I think there was an older one, maybe after you left, but it literally had, it looked just like ours, that we had talked about 2 sides, but it was probably about 6 pages of, it might have been the one that you saw was 91 because it had the building design. I think for maybe when they added on, they actually had the floor plan inside. They had the school calendar. It's pretty cool. And when we see each other again in person, I'm going to bring it for especially our community outreach and advocacy group, so you can see. But I think that it's still really effective, and that's to send it to each household, which is what they're doing just in case people don't have the access, or some people just like to get that and read it a couple times a year. So we're going to keep that. We're not, I think that's still a good idea to engage as many people, whether they're in the schools or not in the schools. So we have those 2 things. And then we had the first of our community conversations, which was just an idea of another way to provide a Zoom link so people can do this after dinner, maybe once a month or once every other month, to talk about different topics related to anything going on in the district initiatives, just another way to give people an opportunity to talk. So it dovetailed nicely with the request from the Regional School District Planning Board project management team. They had come in to do some initial, I'm going to call them focus group meetings with different stakeholders. They asked right before the last school committee meeting, so we're under a couple weeks now, to organize students, administration, parents. Who am I missing? I had my own personal interview, and there were at least five groups, right? Who did I miss?
Yeah.
Teachers, my goodness. Teachers, so we organized a bunch of opportunities for Jake Eberwein and his team to come in and have conversations. Last night, I think the total count was about 58 people who joined us to listen to a little bit. Some of you are here, thank you. We're here to listen to a little bit of a presentation, and there were some icebreaker kind of opening questions to try to get a sense of where the community is early in the process. But you know, that was a very successful start to opening different ways of engaging our stakeholders in things that are going on. So they're still looking for ways. I mean, that was one of the comments, even from the project management team, is how do we make sure that we have engagement from as many different people in this process as possible, because it's just tricky. It's tricky with schedules and life in general, and different modes of communication. People like different things. So we did have a good discussion. I don't know if anybody here wants to share, ask questions, anybody who is interested in that. We did put the PowerPoint presentation up in the news feed that was done last night. So you can go to the website, it's right on the front page, and you can get a sense of what people talked about last night. Everybody downloaded the chat, and we'll go through that and look for, I think they're compiling their initial reactions based on the information they're getting from these initial visits in both districts. I think the ones are happening in Berkshire Hills this week. We did most of ours last week. So, but there's going to be plenty more of these opportunities. And I welcome, other ways to make sure that everybody has a chance to be involved and think through and participate in, because as they said, in the end, it's your vote that matters on what this looks like. So it's great that people can be a part of it from the beginning.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said something about the chat. Will we be able to access the chat comments? Because I was really impressed by the number of people who were so positive about the reopening plan. I don't know if you noticed that, but they kept on commenting about how it was responsive to the parents. I did not expect such a really strong positive reaction from a number of people. Is it possible, was it downloaded in a way that we could all see it?
Well, it's downloaded. I wouldn't say it's in gorgeous format right now. So I can, I think what I would like to do, and I think that's probably what Jake and his team are doing, is kind of combine the, kind of get a sense of what those comments were, and then we can add that for sure. But there's currently like 9+ pages to weed through. So,
but I'd love to know, after putting so much effort into the reopening plan and the revision and everything else, I mean, what was it that really struck people? That was one of the most positive, responses I've seen to our efforts as a district. So I don't know.
My
there are other
gut is
people,
that, 70 plus people was a lot. I mean, to manage, and a lot to have involved, and so I think, obviously it was one of the most difficult things I can even think about trying to lead through, when, there is no training for pandemic support,
Right.
For anybody. So I think everybody was just totally invested in how to do the best we could, safely, and in a way that could bring some form of normalcy, as possible. So, but I think just sticking with that and letting anybody and everybody who wanted to participate be a part of it in some way, to me, is what made it successful. And it is not easy to do. It's even, last night with 58 people, we were doing 70 people at a time, in there, with their contributions. So I just think it was a testament to people being committed to making something work. And I think that one of the most powerful things also, that I've been able to share with my colleagues, is that we made that community, we have our COVID contract, which was our community commitment to those who were coming to school. And I can tell you, people got right behind that, and they were incredibly supportive. And I think because everybody honored that, we were able to be in school, at least in the hybrid model, for almost all of the year, which was not the case across the Commonwealth. So I'm really proud of that. I mean, our size contributes to our ability to do those types of things, but I think our commitment to each other and to being safe was also what got us through. So, but I will look, because and try to get everybody's thoughts on that together, so everybody can see it.
Thank you. Because Susan was there last night, and I know Chuck was there last night, but to get so many, we try to do things right, whether it's from your administration or the school committee or whatever, but to have so many people, even though that wasn't the topic, I'd love to be able to know, especially Danelle, as we look at the communication aspect, what are the things from a parent's perspective that were done right and that need to be replicated, because they seem to be expressing how much they felt cared about.
And a lot of times, Bonnie, as we all know, it's easier to take shots when you don't like something that's happening than to stand up and say, hey, kids, you did a great job. So I agree.
Right.
Everybody that stepped out last night and said, hey, you did a really great job here, is probably speaking for at least 10 or 15 other people who didn't say anything. And considering sometimes how we all know over the course of the years, communication has been misrepresented, misperceived, misunderstood, not there at all, there too much. So the idea that you guys did it right on such an horrific situation, I agree, you should probably be given some further look as to, who it was that raised their hand and made those comments. Anyway, just saying.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree, obviously.
Yeah, so we'll do our best to try to figure out what the secret ingredients were and replicate them as we move forward. So, but I really think it's just about people being committed and staying staying with everybody through the whole process, because that's the key. So because really we had like perfect attendance through the summer, through the beginning and fall, when we wrote the plan, when I know we had people who couldn't really go anywhere else, so I had a captive audience, but I don't know if that'll be a little bit harder now, but we'll definitely do our best to do the same for this process. I think in any work that we're doing going forward, whatever works is something we should hold on to and keep it as a recipe for success and how we behave moving forward. So anybody else have anything that they want to say or their thoughts about yesterday and how that went, and the idea of just those massive community Zooms? I was happy it wasn't me getting fired at yesterday for once, but that's okay.
That's just a quick question. Are you notifying the various select boards about these community outreach meetings? I know Bonnie sent us the notice, and I didn't get to attend last night, but those are really such a critical component of the planning board methodology. And I have to say that Jake and his team did a great job in presenting what their project management plan was. So we got it a little bit late. I usually look at the SBRSD website at least once a day just to see what meetings are coming up and so forth. But if there's any way you could get that out to us, and we could then, I'd like to see it put on our town calendar, because particularly the community outreach at this early stage, that's been a criticism of these, of some of the, consolidation efforts in the past and otherwise, and to know that people have the opportunity to participate remotely as well as in person and ask the tough questions now, as opposed to a year and a half from now, is going to be critical to the success of whatever plan comes up.
Yeah, so I think this is another reason that we are excited about something like the app, because right now, if you're not in my school messenger database, even if I blast it out, and I did put it on the website as well, unless if you're not in there, I don't always send it out that way. I will say, and this isn't a criticism of anybody, this was an initial idea that they had, and it was incredibly short notice for me. I had a week to turn around all those different groups at the last week of school. So I was doing my best to pull as many people together. So I did, I announced it at the school committee. I put it in my news and notes to families. I put it on the website. I sent a letter home Monday. I did a reminder yesterday, but I was really just pleased that we got as many as we did yesterday. It was super short notice. So going forward, I think, the whole community, and we'll be advertising it this way, can download the app, and we'd be pushing that stuff out to you. You don't have to be in my school messenger system. You don't have to have a child in the schools and sign up. You get those messages as well with what's coming on. And the nice thing is you can just, if you like, if you see the meeting and you want it, you just push it and it goes right onto your calendar. So there's no way you can miss it, which is exciting. I'm not so sure how I like the fact that they put if you want my phone number, you can press on that and call me. I don't know, but there's a lot of accessibility, but that's so that'll be something I think that will open it up to more people down the road. So that might be a good feature, because you guys probably aren't filling it out and putting your name on the list on our internal database. So, and again, it will real time add those things to the school calendar and the website too. So that's about 8 weeks out, but we'll do our best to inform all of you. Hopefully, when I let the school committee know these things, because they're in there, they're letting their respective towns know too, but we can mention that tomorrow night for those who are here, to do that while we're in the process of working on the app.
Beth, just to let you know, I had a request from Renee because Sheffield is the only one that doesn't have a select board member as one of its three. So therefore,
Oh, I see.
Sheffield wasn't getting the list of all the meetings. So I mentioned it to Lynette, and Lynette is sending out everything we get from Doreen or whomever every time there's a meeting of the regional planning board. Lynette is sending it to the select boards of all 5 towns.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Great.
she said she would do that.
She has that set up, so.
Yeah, and that wasn't meant, my comment wasn't meant to be a criticism of you or Lynette or anybody. I mean, it's just, it would be great for us to be able then to pass everything on to other people
Right.
as well.
Yeah, I've had that comment a lot of, sometimes this group in particular, the town level doesn't have it. If you don't have someone in schools, you probably don't have your email in my notification system. So that's another way we're trying to connect that. So, and casting that wider net. So the more the merrier for sure. Okay. Anybody else have anything else that they would like to talk about? Well, I thank you all for, oh, Danelle, I'm sorry. You have your
That's
hand up.
okay. I just flashed to the chat real quick. I just wanted to read, Susan just asked a question. In Egremont, the town newsletter is left at the post offices and town hall. Could we also leave some of the school newsletters in those sites? That was.
Oh, you mean, so are you talking about the ones that we're talking about doing going forward, the ones right home, or are you talking the electronic ones that we send?
Susan? I don't know, it was her.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Here I am. Hi.
Yeah.
Is there any thought of paper? Didn't mean to startle you with that question, but
No, you're not startling me. I have a ton of paper. I think there's a lot of people who would prefer less paper, but we do, the paper copies is what we're proposing to do. I think you've seen our budget flyer before. Have you seen that one, Susan?
I'm honestly not sure, Beth, if I have or not.
Okay,
But
then that's not good news because
I raised this again as I did last night. Nearly half the population of Egremont is over 50 years old.
right. So these went to the homes.
Therefore, when you say, oh, just download an app and you can put it onto your calendar, my calendar hangs on the kitchen wall.
Correct.
All
So
right.
you won't be one of those. Yes.
No. So, but the other 50% of town, and as I raised this again last night, there is an interest. I mean, we are very interested in our school system, but we don't really we don't have a presence of you in that way. And since our town newspaper is left at our 2 post offices and our town hall, if there were a physical copy of the school paper that would also be left at the 2 post offices, it would give those people who come in and pick up their mail an opportunity to pick that up and participate more actively with a working understanding of what you guys are doing. To assume we're going to go online or that we're going to go onto a website or we're going to download an app, I think loses a large part of Egremont's population. So I'm hoping that we can back down off of the technicals and move back into the 19th century in some weird paper way that would accommodate that. Thank you.
Sure. So I rest my case for those who I've been talking to at length about forms of communication. So I do think that the 3 to 4 times a year of the paper copy that we could leave in the post offices, or for those who go to every single home, is
If they
still,
have
no. The budget one has gone to every home, child or no child. That's why I'm asking you. So that would be our philosophy for these 4 times a year, that we'd be doing updates. So whether you have children or not, you know what's happening in the school system. And, I think that's important for every taxpayer who is supporting the school. So that is our goal moving forward for this year. We've only really been doing that to every home with the budget for the last 2 or 3 years now. 3. This might have been every one.
Yeah.
But there's the value in doing that, Susan, is the fact that I can't put my 18,000 electronic meetings on your calendar at home. I'd be very, very busy. So.
Beth, could I make a comment, please?
Sure.
Susan raises a very good point. I think that one of the things, and I don't say this as a form of ageism, because obviously, I'm in the group of ageists, if you will. But it's always important to remember, along the points of what Susan made, was that, remember, in Berkshire County is the oldest average age county in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Okay, so that's the group that that's going to do the voting and so forth, and pays the taxes and so on.
And we have, I think we can all pretty much agree that our population pretty much signs off on most everything. I mean, you don't have vast amounts of pushback as we go forward. I think some of the problems necessarily between the communities in the school district have been we've shot ourselves in the foot, not that anybody's been aiming at us from over the fence. So I think that that's a good move going forward, that we begin, as you say, Beth, absolutely. Let's see whether we can get more information out about the wonderful good things you're doing. That why aren't we finding out about how great our robotics team is doing? There are things that you kind of have to dig for to be happy about, and we shouldn't have to do that. We have to find the mechanism that will let that good news come out on a regular basis. So it's not like, wow, once every 4 months there's something.
Susan, does Egremont have a print newsletter?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Because
it's left in the post offices.
because the Sheffield Times has Beth do a column every issue. And then we've also shared articles. So, for example, I wrote an article on the whole regional planning board and on kindergarten. So New Marlborough took my article and then they added to it, and then I shared it. Jane and I shared our articles with Alford. So it's a way, and Monterey picked up some of it. So I think, the fact that they can hear.
Could you start that trajectory for me again? You wrote an article that went into the Sheffield Times, which is separate from the town. That's not a town publication, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken. Okay.
And
so
then
they're actively seeking stories. Does the school district ever write its own articles? Obviously it must if it has a newsletter.
Yes, right.
No, I write for the Sheffield Times as asked, but the dates, what I need is I would need a schedule of the dates, because
Okay, so if we provide you the schedule of our dates, because Mary Brazy always sends out about 10 days before, I'm going to press on the monthly newsletter. Make sure
so that schedule would be helpful for me, because I have timed pieces.
I'll see that gets to you, because if you have that and you have a nice feel-good story, and we could start a column in our town newspaper that says school district business, I think that would be just a good, nice, easy way to start. A nice, easy way to start, to hear some feel-good stories, to hear student stories, to hear what you guys are up to down there. And I think it would be a great way to do it. So thanks. I'll make sure that gets to you, Ben.
And the editor of the Sheffield Times sends out to a whole group of us just an email.
Reminders.
Saying, these are the topics. Do you have any other ideas of things to be covered?
We need to put our email on her email too, so that she sends it up to us. Now that is, help me, Who is the?
Andrea Scott.
Andrea
who-
Scott,
Okay,
and Kathy Orlando works with her.
Kathy, I know, okay.
Which don't tell her because I'm behind in my article this week, but you didn't say that. She chases me. You have to chase me. It's sometimes, but we'll work on that. So, but if I have the timing, I can, put it all in the calendar and make sure I get whatever I can to you guys.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
That's great.
we'll take it. We'll do whatever we can.
Yep.
So, okay. Anybody else have anything? Thank you, Danelle. Have a good night. We'll see you again tomorrow. 3 in a row. 3 in a row. But I do think this is excellent feedback, frankly, for Jake and his team, as well as, making sure that we get to what is going to reach the wider population. So if print is super important, we want to remember that when we're doing the work on the planning board. That'll be good feedback for them. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, as always. And we'll look in the next month or 6 weeks to schedule our next get together. Okay.
Great.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too.